Welcome in, hockey fans from the Desert Southwest. You can tell by the logo behind me and the gentleman standing to my right that I am not in the Desert Southwest. I am in Dubuque, Iowa, with the head coach of the Dubuque Fighting Saints of the United States Hockey League. Oliver David is with me. Coach, I wanted to come here because I wanted to find out what's going on with the connection between the Fighting Saints and the Sun Devils. So I thought, why not just stop in and visit myself and get the word from you right up front. So what is it? What's the secret? You got a direct flight? What do you have?
Well, we can't talk about the secret. Cash envelopes everywhere. Well, first of all, thanks for coming. There are no direct flights, so you made your way here in a car, obviously. Yeah, I think for one, Mike Field was here, assistant coach, since the program started, the Division I part of the program. And, honestly, that's about as far as it goes with maybe the coincidence or the amount of players that end up there. I think it's really part of their strategic plan. When I say theirs, obviously Greg and Mike and the rest of the staff, Alex, Hicksey, and to kind of have a beat on the transfer student, the player with a lot of junior experience or maybe coming from other college programs that have college experience as well. And I think in Dubuque, what we've sort of kind of have our pulse on is a similar approach in terms of providing an opportunity for transfer students to maybe get a commitment by coming back through here, right, and moving on from programs that didn't work out for them. So in a way, Mike, it was a good marriage when Mike was here and helping us get players here, and a little bit of a natural carryover in this case to ASU.
Well, the players that are at ASU right now, and we just lost one of them to the NHL, so I guess you can't argue that when Josh Maniscalco makes a step up to join the Penguins organization. But let's start right there. Tell me about Josh Maniscalco and what he was like as a player here and what you thought he might turn out to be.
Yeah, I can't stop smiling. I mean, it's kind of, it's all good with these kids that are going there, and every kid that's there, and it is going to be going there. We have Riley Stewart here now that's going to play.
Talked to Riley a couple minutes ago.
Yeah, that's going to be here. So, Josh came in from the National Team Development Program. It's our Team USA, in other words, and played 2 years there. Wasn't going straight in to ASU. Not a college transfer, but a kid that was kind of looking to regain his confidence and be leaned on a little bit more and have a bit of opportunity. And we picked him with our first pick in that year's draft, and immediately he became our captain. Once we kind of got to know him, he became your guys' captain, and maybe one day the Pittsburgh Penguins captain. So I mean that's a real easy, quick summary, but smile on his face every day, very coachable, extremely talented, as you guys all saw. And I wouldn't really call it a loss for the Sun Devils. I would say it was a worthy investment, and I think it'll pay off for your program down the road here when you guys are, Greg and the staff are developing NHL prospects. That goes a very, very long way in the hockey world. So I think it's going to be a good benefit for you guys in the end.
Well, two guys that you talked about in the transfer program, James Sanchez and Willie Nearum, I thought were two of the biggest contributors to last year's team. And I told Coach Powers after the season, I said, those two coming in, I mean, they jumped right in as juniors and now are going to be seniors, quote unquote. Let's hope that this season gets going for their sake and for everybody's sake. But leadership is the first thing that I saw out of those guys, and confidence. And they got it from here, didn't they?
Well, the D sometimes stands for development.
Right.
As Willie and Sanch will tell you, sometimes they refer to this as last chance you. Right. And, I think ultimately the way I feel about development is the first thing that needs to happen at any level, from any direction players are coming or going, the player has to make a real decision what they want to get done and where they want to get to. So we provide an opportunity, I would say.
Okay.
I don't have magic. I don't have any, sweet drills to pass on that make these kids into what they are. I honestly believe that they made a decision. They took advantage of an opportunity. They paid us back tenfold, and they're reaping the reward of them putting in the time and the effort. So that's what we try to provide here.
Okay, so there's another defenseman that's really good and really fun to interview and a real personality, and I'm talking about Jacob Semick, but tell me about Jacob and his time here.
Yeah, Jacob was here for maybe 25 years. It felt like he was here a very long time. We'd still love you back, Jacob, if you guys don't play. Jacob is a character. You're not going to find a guy that is more thoughtful, maybe intuitive is another word that comes to mind. He's the type of player that can easily transition into coaching, although I know for a fact he doesn't want to transition into coaching at this time. I think his interests lie more in general management or scouting, right. Which, in fact, fun fact for you guys, Jacob will be involved even as short as this season with helping us if there's stuff around your area to kind of go bird dog for us and watch games just to start learning about the process of identifying players. So he's a hockey man through and through, and I hope he's enjoying his time at school because that's what it's about, and I think you guys will enjoy him for the next few years there.
Okay, and then the one that's coming up, who was here last year, Riley Stewart.
Yeah.
Big hopes for him. I know there's a whole bunch of talent inside that kid just waiting to be developed, and we go back to the D again for development.
Yeah.
But tell me about Riley's first year here and what you expect out of him this year when you guys finally get going again.
Yeah, Riley's first year here, I had him in a kind of a slow starter spot, so he didn't get a ton of opportunity in terms of game time,
right.
And that needs to change, and that is what we're projecting for him, to have those type of opportunities and continue his development here with us. He's an outstanding kid, 100% coachable. You're right, he's full of talent, and we've got to figure out how to get him ready for ASU in probably a couple of years, I would think. And as we mentioned with Willie and Sanchez, and Manny was able to do it here in Semick, when that decision and turning point happens for a kid is anybody's guess, but when it happens overnight seemingly, and there's your breakout player. Right. So that's what I can see in my mind for Riley, and if he can get there, sooner the better for everybody. Right. But if he can get there this year, I'll have a big saint smile on my face, as we say. So I'm very, very eager to see what Riley brings and what we can count on him for this year.
Okay, so I talked to all the players when they got to Arizona State and Riley this summer, and I said, what is it about Dubuque? And to a man, they have nothing but compliments to say about this place. Yeah. So I drive into the parking lot today, and I see the building. I go, it's a nice building. And I walk inside, and I go, my goodness, I just texted my co-host out in New York, and I said, there's no doubt why kids want to come here. Yeah. The community support has got to be through the roof. The building is fantastic. You market yourself very, very well. The branding is great. They have high words of praise for you and your job that you do coaching them. How do you put it all together in Dubuque, Iowa?
On the fly. No. Yeah. It really is as simple as I even hate to say this, but the general statement of kind of it comes from the top. Right. Our ownership is fantastic. We can get into that, but it's It's as solid as it can be.
Right.
The building was built for us,
Right.
like yours will be.
Yep.
So, I mean, stuff as simple as the seats are the same color as our logo. Everything matches. It's just so fluid. And then in terms of kind of the staff and the things that we value, we value players that want to learn
Right.
and want to win.
Okay.
So that's what those.
That's a good recipe
I mean,
right there.
yeah, it's not genius, but that's the starting point. So you can imagine coming here, seeing the facilities. The one thing about facilities is if the facilities are what's attracting you here and that's what you're interested in, somebody might beat us out with facilities. We are a top-notch one, but we don't necessarily want guys that are only interested in the facilities. We want guys that want to learn, and they all come in on a different sliding scale. Some don't know that they want to learn. Some have no idea what's about to happen.
Right.
Some get it, and they're immediately kind of have that mind shift or set their mind in that direction. And that's where we teach from. Quite honestly, we talk about secret sauce or going back to the beginning. That is exactly where we teach from here.
Okay.
A learning environment. We try to create that in terms of the coaching staff and what we do day to day, and teaching the game or how to win, not just how we play, but the things that should translate
Okay.
as you move on to, in this case, ASU. So when you say to me, leadership-wise, I assume also on the ice they had, I know they had points and they were factors, but Sanchez and Nearum stepping right in and being such contributing factors, that's stuff that we did talk about every day,
Okay.
but they were willing to learn, and that's how we kind of go where we go. I'm not that smart, so, two things to focus on every day, that's enough. But if we can nail those things,
Yeah.
from the top down,
Right.
our building, everything about the area, it kind of all blends together.
Okay, a lot of people don't understand the philosophy or what happens at USHL hockey, but you have different people, right? You have some that are high school students taking
Yeah.
their classes. You got some that are taking college classes. You got some different things. But one thing that all of the players have mentioned to me is the billet parents, the billet families in Dubuque are something special. I've seen photos. I've seen videos.
Okay.
I've also heard
I haven't
stories.
seen all those. So,
I've heard stories about just how comfortable your billet families make the players feel here. You're aware of that. I know you are.
yeah, I haven't lived with any billets, not for a long time, but it is something, again, there's just two more things. Our housing situation, billet families, we call them housing families, and our academic piece, in this case, the coordinators of both our housing and our academics. Again, it's are second to none. It's part of the whole makeup that you've felt and seen around town. That makes our program so smooth. Again, the transition to school. I'm happy that you're reporting to me that you've seen pictures and they've told you about the comfort level. It's very, very important that we provide, even more now than ever, a safe and healthy environment. And we've got people that are second generation housing families. Their parents housed, and now they were kids in the 80s or the 90s, and now they're housing the second go around. So it's quite extraordinary. And I think when Dubuque started in the 80s, went away from 2000, 2010.
Okay.
Other than that, it's been here 30 out of 40 years. When you start a program and it's successful basically the entirety of its existence,
Sure.
you get some people that are absolutely a part of that kind of success. And in our case, billet families are a huge part of it.
Okay, I've got one more thing before we end this segment.
Okay.
Greg Powers is a big stickler on grade point average. He wants his group of guys to have the highest grade point average of all the athletes at the university at Arizona State.
No chance.
He makes sure that academics are important, and he's very proud of that. And your guys continue to raise the bar. As
Do
they
they?
come in, they move up. They want to do different things.
Sorry to every other player. I apologize.
Maybe everybody else just wants to come back to Dubuque because, what did you call this, last chance you?
That's what Willie and Sanchez call it. Nearum and Sanchez, yeah. Coin them with that.
Okay, so as we talk about that, that comes back to structure, right? You guys provide a structure for them to get their classwork done, to get on the ice and remain focused on, you brought it up, two things, right? Get your schoolwork done, get your ice work done. Fair enough?
Yeah, I mean, that's the second piece. We talked about the housing and the academic education coordinator here is, I mean, very, very quick snapshot of her is she's a retired high school teacher, 30 years in the district. Now she's a college professor in the local community college for 10 plus years. Again, well fluid machine, just knows everybody in town. Everything's one phone call away, tutors, direct line to every teacher of every class these kids are in.
Okay.
And they've all attended the same school, the same high school,
Right.
the entire time.
Okay.
You know, so when you're talking about process, you're talking about systems. This is as good as it gets with the resources we have. And again, it's not by accident these kids are able to do what they do. I will say in kind of favor of them, very, very rarely does our education advisor have to put her foot down.
Okay.
These kids, again, it goes back to the players making the decisions. And they come in wanting to get to ASU. ASU, from the little I know about kind of the standards, academic standards to get into schools, although it's a public state school, which a lot of hockey schools are not.
Right.
The standards are very high in the way that it's all set up. You gotta be a pretty strict qualifier to get to ASU. So these kids know it, and I think, I mean, Greg probably tells them from the minute they talk to him as well. To your point, so we don't.
I'm sure of that.
We look for kids that want it.
Yeah.
You know, one of my favorite things we say around here is be about it.
Okay.
And we try to figure out if kids are about it. As vague as that term sounds, I think everybody would know what I mean. And if you're not into it, if you're not all about it, this isn't the place for you.
Right.
So some of it weeds itself out, but we do have infrastructure to get it done while they're here. And we've got kids more often than not that really are about it. And you guys are hopefully going to benefit from the ones that are there for a couple more years.
Already doing that. So let's take a quick break and let's come back and let's talk specifically about Dubuque Fighting Saints hockey. I want to show the arena in this clip so people can actually get a feel for what it's like. But I want you to tell me what it's like to play in the USHL. I'm from northern Minnesota, lived in Arizona for 30 years, but I know what it's like to be on that bus and go from here to here to here. I also know what it's like to do it in the wintertime. We'll be right back with another segment from a Saint to a Sun Devil with Coach Oliver David. And we're back on our special feature from a Saint to a Sun Devil, which is very unique.
So
very unique.
Sorry to interrupt you. What we do around here is we trademark everything. It's probably illegal. We just put it on our schedules and everything, but that would be a trademark. I mean, Saint to a Sun Devil, TM. There you go.
Okay, I like that idea. Yeah. Okay, Oliver David is with me. We're back again. We talked first segment about your players that were here or are here and will be going to Arizona State or are at Arizona State. Now I want to talk a little bit about your program specifically. I walked in, as I mentioned in the first segment, saw the building. I'd seen pictures, I've seen videos, I've watched games on the internet. But man, when I walked in here, I got a feel.
Yeah.
I'm sure people tell you that all the time when they walk into the building, they get a feel. I don't know if it's the red seats, if it's completely the circular lower bowl. I've been into a lot of arenas, Coach, and this one gave me the feel. So give me the meaning of the feel of Dubuque Fighting Saints hockey.
You know, I mean, maybe going off the cuff here, because you have seen energy in the building. You've seen the players that have played here firsthand now at Arizona State.
Right.
You know a little bit about the success. So I mean, you know, maybe slightly a little bit of bias confirmation. I mean, but that's the point, right? That's the point of it. When you've built something and you walk into a building, even let's say a movie set. You know, I'm from LA. There's my LA plug. You walk onto a Wild West movie set and you saw the movie, you're going to feel it, right? So it's great that you feel that in here. It is real. A lot of success has happened in here. A lot of winning has happened in here. A lot of players have come through here that have built this house, as they say. And I do think, I'm a bit of a graphic guy, a bit of an artsy guy. I do think the fact that it was built for us and it is all red. It's a very kind of modern, also simplistic build, plays a factor into it as well. So, I mean, it is literally our house. It literally is our arena. Nothing else happens here except Fighting Saints hockey.
And that's the way it all starts. I mean, when you get players that come in the door, I mean, they're thinking hockey when they come in here, I'm sure.
Yeah.
You get them on the ice. Tell us a little bit about the USHL for those in the Desert Southwest that don't experience junior hockey. As I told you, I have. I know what that's like. I've experienced college hockey and all of those different things. Tell us about USHL hockey and what it's like to play in this league.
You know, the good thing, the number one thing that we think about when recruiting players and then they eventually show up here is, in a very real way, I mean, college is for most Americans the first time children move away from home.
Sure.
Some go to boarding schools and things like that on the East Coast, but basically it's the first time children move away from home, and they're not children, they're 18, right? So that's a little bit more of a traditional transition for a parent. The number one thing we consider and think about, and never leaves my mind personally, is that we have other people's children here. And in our case, they could be 16 years old. Our average age is usually around 18, but that means we've got about half under that and half over.
Sure.
Out of a 24-man roster.
Okay.
So high school students, as you've mentioned. So that's the first thing, never leaves my mind. We're always cognizant of that and making sure we have a safe environment. In terms of the USHL, one of the cool things about the league is only in Middle America.
Right.
You know, it's only in the Midwest. So we only have bus travel. And in our case in Dubuque, we are the bullseye, figuratively and literally, in the league. We're the bullseye. So we go 8 hours one direction, 8 hours the other. That's about as far as we go. So there is a 16-hour bus ride. There is a full-day bus ride for a couple teams in the league. But ultimately, that leads to safety. I've coached in other leagues. At school, at ASU, there's airplanes involved, across country. There's a lot of different travel and logistics.
Last year, there was to China.
And there's China. There's, every 4 years you'll have a trip probably.
Right.
So in terms of safety and kids moving away from home, the nice thing about it is we're kind of centrally located. I know 8 hours might sound like a long time on a bus.
Not to me anymore.
Yeah. So, I mean, real simple. When we do have those long trips, again, we're thinking about amateurs, and we're thinking about people away from home, underage teenagers, on buses and hotels, and on we go. We travel through the night when it's long trips, which might at first seem like it's a little bit more scary. Right. But ultimately, again, I'm from Los Angeles. I grew up on the freeways, and there's nothing even close to a freeway out here. So when you drive through the night, you got one component, and that's your bus driver, and our bus drivers are outstanding. there's no one else on the road.
Yeah.
And it's 2-lane highways, 3-lane highways, and it's pretty easy. The weather does pose a problem, and yeah, I mean, again, safety first. We have contingency plans in place every single trip. If we need to stop, we stop. So, fortunately, we all know there's been very tragic situations with buses and planes in professional and amateur sports. Some very recently, which also heighten our alertness, and we take, we took great pride in it without needing a nudge, but we obviously take much more caution, in light of some recent events here in junior hockey.
Okay, so March of this year, something called a pandemic hits. It hit everybody. There was nobody singled out anywhere in the country. Some places were worse than others. You being from California know how bad California was.
Yeah.
Arizona went through its stint, New York, all the other places. Maybe Dubuque wasn't hit quite as hard, being in the middle of America and maybe a little bit more spread out. But in any sense, it took away hockey for all of us for a very long time, in our minds, 3-4 months.
Yeah.
How did you and your team handle the disappointment first and then the getting through it second?
So we ended on March 12th. I think it was the same day the NHL shut down.
Yeah.
We were on the road, so I mentioned the contingency plans with hotels. We had one in place. On our way out, we knew that it was a possibility that our games would be canceled. We had one of our long trips, so we went through the night to Ohio from Iowa. It's about 8-9 hours and a time change. And we were practicing, it was an off day, but we were practicing upon arrival. And our media guy kind of came down to ice level and said, season just got postponed. So we knew it was possible. We opened practice with the possibility that we'd be ending practice, being told that, and we just followed our process. And we made our way down the highway into a hotel, and at that point, we didn't necessarily have masks and understand the social distancing, but that was probably March 11th. Maybe that was the 12th, actually. And we made our way home. We had a meeting here in our locker room upon arrival, 6-7 in the morning.
Yep.
And we held them here for a couple weeks until we understood what was happening, and then their parents signed off on allowing them to travel and get home.
Okay.
You're right to assume it didn't really infiltrate our area here in Dubuque. I don't even really think Middle America, maybe a little bit in Chicago, actually a lot in Chicago.
Yeah.
Obviously highly populated, but we didn't know, in the beginning. So we kept them, they went home, and then the unique thing with us, unlike the Sun Devils, unique in the USHL or junior hockey in general, is our team turnover is half or more every year. So as soon as these kids go home, most of them are not returning.
Okay.
So it would be literally building a team from scratch or just a little bit better than from scratch every summer. Okay. So not so different in terms of our process through the summer, other than not knowing when we'll start. But we still had a tryout camp.
Yeah.
In late July. Normally we have it in June.
Okay.
But we had the presence of mind to kind of schedule as late as possible and hope we could get it done, and we successfully were able to.
Yep.
No issues at all in terms of health for anybody that attended. We obviously closed attendance, but
Right.
So that was kind of our first target once we understood what was happening through March, April, May, and June, and here we are. It's August 31st today,
Yep.
2020, and we have a report date of the 1st of October.
Okay.
Mandated by the USHL. So we are preparing. We've got a month now. It's exactly a month from tomorrow to get our ducks in a row and really understand how we're going to play some healthy hockey. Trademark.
Yeah.
Healthy
Yeah,
hockey.
there you go.
Yeah.
Healthy hockey.
So that's it in a nutshell. Yeah.
Okay, so kind of the final question in a two-parter is, being in Arizona and being around NCAA and the NHL, and I watched what the NHL did, and I commend them every single day about how great that was because we all needed hockey.
Yeah.
They did it safely.
Yeah.
They've had remarkable results. I don't think they've ever had a positive case since they got to the bubble
Yeah,
anywhere.
they're the only ones.
Yeah, they're the only ones.
Yeah.
So we know how that's going on. We know that, like at ASU right now, we don't even have a confirmed schedule because things have flip-flopped so many times. We know you guys, though, have a schedule, and are we coming back to the upper Midwest part of it again? Is that part of it, or how come you guys have a report date and ready to go? Is it because you don't have the NCAA?
Yeah, I mean, I'll answer the best I can, but I think some of that is over my head, or I'm not involved in some of those decisions. I think the fact that the league has announced a report date, not a schedule,
Right.
but a player report date, obviously is a good sign. The NHL, as you mentioned, has done an extraordinary job. Best in the world, I would add. I've gotten into kind of soccer overseas, football, as they call it, the last year and a half, and they pulled it off as well, but they had some cases, and they weren't in a bubble.
Yeah.
They went home at night and different things, but they had positive cases all throughout their restarts. NHL's the only one worldwide that has had no issues. So the NHL, luckily for us, the USHL, I like to say, is the best league in the world for professional amateur players.
Right.
And we have the NHL's full backing and support in the NHL. There's some initiatives kind of that the USHL has partnered with the NHL. So in this case, they are advising,
Okay.
and a lot more than that in terms of providing information and even testing and setting protocol for the USHL specifically.
Wow.
So that doesn't mean we get 0 cases, but when we do, there are plans in place
How to deal with it, right?
and how to deal with it, how we're going to intake players, the onboarding process. You mentioned that we talked about the billet families, what happens when if they have a positive test or a player in their house does, on and on. So we're going through an educational learning curve here with the league, and they feel confident that we'll be able to get players here, and we're waiting a schedule. But the first day, the earliest that we would have a game is the 6th of November.
Okay.
So about 5 weeks after arrival. So I am optimistic. I don't know if we'll start on the 6th of November. I think that'll, we're talking the NHL, we're talking governments, we're talking the state government is another big factor. In Iowa, we're allowed to have gatherings. We're allowed to have a game in our arena. The last I heard was 25% capacity. It might increase. Hopefully it doesn't decrease.
Right.
But, I mean, just the fact that we can do that is a plus. But
Absolutely.
all the states in our league can't, so that's why a schedule has not been announced yet.
Okay. Fair enough. So the final question for you is, when we talk about the pandemic and what we just did right now, and,
Yeah.
and you have to think about this beautiful facility with
Yeah.
only 25% capacity, disappointing, obviously, but you can't do anything about it, right? So you control what you can control, I'm sure. How's that going to feel for the guys? Are the players ready to accept that, hey, this is it now?
I don't know the answer until we get guys here. We'll have a month-long training camp, but I can tell you, you'll see a pattern here. There's just a couple things that really matter. And we've got 2 sayings in here, but the only thing hanging in our locker, in our gym over my shoulder here is the day-to-day is the way. And what I mean by that is you are playing for fans, you are playing for college scholarships, you are playing to get drafted in the NHL, but that stuff is on the peripheral, and who you are inside and how you decide to play a game, and playing to win, and in doing the things that are right by yourself and right by all of us. Those things shouldn't factor in too heavily. They do motivate you, they do get you going, but We try to create an environment, as you mentioned, that we can control, and we try to create a kind of an internal competition daily in our environment, in the kind of the culture that we try to breed. So, you know, we want fans. We hope people continue to follow us, obviously, for years to come, and in any capacity possible in the season ahead here, the 2021 season. But you know, my job will be to really instill a belief in self in every single one of these guys that show up here for training camp, and a real desire to draw out their best no matter where we're playing hockey. And it starts with the day-to-day, you know.
Very well put, Coach. Folks in the Desert Southwest, I think I figured it out. I think I figured out how you go from a Saint to a Sun Devil.
Trademark.
And trademark. And it starts right here with Coach Oliver David. Thank you for taking the time in the last day of August to talk hockey with me. I appreciate it. Keep doing what you're doing, because the kids that you're churning out are fantastic. And I know at Arizona State we are extremely happy. I think I can speak from everybody in the Desert Southwest. We love the kids that you send us, so keep them rolling.
I'll take it. It's compliments are far and few between sometimes, so I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you, folks, for tuning in. Again, this is from a Saint to a Sun Devil. I'm going to bring my guy with me everywhere I go now, because it's a great way to get it marked. Thank you, Coach. I appreciate it.